Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That statement holds more truth than most people realize. Everyone has dreams, hopes, and plans for a better future. But very few cross that invisible bridge to the other side, where results live. The reason is simple. Discipline is often seen as a burden, not a blessing. But the truth is, it's the very thing that makes achievement possible. It doesn't matter how grand your vision is or how passionate you are about your goals. Without discipline, nothing happens. Passion gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. When you set a goal, you're making a promise to your future self. But that promise is only as strong as the habits and actions that follow. Discipline is the daily effort that honors that promise. It's showing up when it's inconvenient, doing the right thing when no one is watching, and keeping commitments long after the excitement has faded. Most people lose the game not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because they lack follow-through. They let moods, circumstances, or excuses decide their behavior instead of principles, purpose, and discipline. One of the great misunderstandings is that motivation must always come before action. That's not true. In fact, action often precedes motivation. You won't always feel like doing what needs to be done, but the people who win in life are those who do it anyway. They understand that feelings are unreliable companions. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what your goals are and whether your actions are aligned with them. And that's the beauty of it. Discipline gives you the power to act independently of emotion. It gives you consistency when life is inconsistent. You see, life is full of distractions and temptations. There will always be something easier, faster, or more pleasurable calling for your attention. But here's the catch. Shortcuts rarely lead to the right destination. If you're looking to build something that lasts, whether it's a career, a relationship, a legacy, or a life of purpose, it's going to take effort over time. And effort over time is another name for discipline. It's waking up early to work on your craft. It's saying no when others say yes. It's delaying gratification so you can enjoy the reward when it truly matters. Discipline is also what builds character. Every time you resist the urge to quit, to cheat, to procrastinate, you're strengthening your will. You're sending a message to yourself, I am in control. That message becomes your mindset, and that mindset becomes your identity. And once it becomes your identity, discipline gets easier. Because now it's not just what you do, it's who you are. You're no longer trying to become disciplined. You are disciplined. That shift can change everything. Jim Rohn once said, we must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And that's the choice we all face. Discipline may be uncomfortable in the moment, but it leaves no bitter aftertaste. Regret, on the other hand, comes when you look back at what could have been, the chances not taken, the time wasted, the potential ignored. That pain lingers. But the pain of discipline, it passes. And what it leaves behind is pride, achievement, and progress. Now, the good news is that discipline isn't something you're born with or without. It's not a gift, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with use. Start small, show up, keep promises to yourself, push a little harder each day. Soon enough, you won't just be crossing the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You'll be building it with your own hands. Discipline doesn't limit your freedom, it creates it. It doesn't shrink your life, it expands it. Because once you master discipline, you master yourself. And once you master yourself, there is very little in this life you cannot do. Daily habits shape your destiny. It might sound like a simple idea, but it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever come to understand. The life you're living right now, your health, your income, your relationships, your mindset, is a reflection of the small, repeated actions you've taken over time. Not the big, dramatic events, not the once-in-a-while effort. It's the little things you do every day, often without thinking, that quietly write the story of your future. We tend to think in terms of big breakthroughs, major achievements, sudden success, overnight transformations. But life doesn't usually work that way. Success is not something you stumble into. It's something you build, one small decision at a time. And that building process, is fueled by your daily habits. The way you start your morning, the way you respond to challenges, the way you treat people, the way you manage your time, all of it matters. Each habit is like a brick. Lay enough bricks with care and consistency, and eventually you've built something strong, something lasting. The challenge is that most people underestimate the power of small actions. If a good habit doesn't bring instant results, they drop. If a bad habit doesn't cause instant damage, they keep it. That's how mediocrity sneaks in, not through one bad day, but through small compromises repeated over and over. Likewise, greatness isn't about one amazing performance. It's about quiet discipline, repeated until it becomes who you are. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. That's why it's so important to examine your routine. What are you doing with your time, your energy, your attention? Are you investing or wasting? Are you moving forward or standing still? You can't expect to change your life if you don't change the things you do every day. If you want to be healthier, look at your eating, your sleeping, your movement, not for one day, but for many. If you want to grow financially, look at your spending, your saving, your learning, not occasionally, but consistently. And let's be clear, habits are not just physical actions. They are also mental routines. How do you speak to yourself in moments of failure? What do you focus on when things get hard? What kind of thoughts dominate your mind in silence? Your internal habits are just as critical as your external ones. That inner dialogue becomes your mindset, and your mindset becomes your reality. That's why personal growth always starts with self-awareness. You can't change what you don't notice, but once you notice, you can begin to shift. Now here's something important to remember. Good habits don't come naturally. They must be cultivated. Bad habits, they show up uninvited. You don't need to work hard to develop laziness, procrastination, or distraction. Those things come easy, but excellence, focus, commitment, those require effort. That's why most people drift through life. They live by default, not by design. But you're not here to drift. You're here to take the wheel. You're here to build a life, not just survive it. It doesn't take a massive overhaul to begin. It just takes one good habit, practiced with discipline, one change in your morning routine, one decision to replace screen time with study time, one commitment to gratitude instead of complaining. Start small, stay consistent, and the compounding effect will work in your favor. Because habits are like seeds. You plant them, you water them, and with time, they grow into something much bigger than they first appear. You might not see the results right away, and that's okay. Trust the process. The results of your efforts are not always immediate, but they are always accumulating. Every workout strengthens your body. Every journal entry strengthens your mind. Every act of kindness strengthens your spirit. The secret isn't intensity, it's consistency. The people who achieve great things aren't necessarily more talented or lucky. They've just mastered the power of doing the right things, day after day, especially when it's hard. So if you want to change your life, don't wait for a miracle. Start with your morning. Start with your choices. Start with your habits. Because once you take control of your daily actions, you begin to take control of your future. And when your habits are aligned with your vision, your destiny isn't left to chance. It becomes a matter of time. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That's the truth. It's not a grand mystery or some unreachable mountaintop reserved for the lucky few. It's built quietly in the background by ordinary people doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. You don't have to do everything, and you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do a few things, the right things, and do them long enough for the results to show up. There's a tendency to believe that success comes from massive action, giant leaps, groundbreaking ideas, high-stakes risks. But if you look closer, you'll see that the most successful people are not always the flashiest. They are often the most consistent. They've simply found the few disciplines that matter most in their field, in their life, and they've made them a part of their daily rhythm. They don't rely on willpower in bursts. They build habits that don't need a push every morning. A discipline is not a punishment. It's a decision. It's saying, this matters, so I will make time for it. I will honor it. Not once, but every day. And that discipline, however small, begins to compound. Think of it like a savings account. One deposit doesn't make you rich, but steady deposits, over time, create wealth. Same with success. You may not see the reward immediately, but that doesn't mean it's not growing. It's growing beneath the surface, preparing to break through when the time is right. Most people fail not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't do what they know. They start strong, but fade quickly. They treat success like a sprint, not a marathon. They chase motivation, when what they really need is discipline. Because motivation fades, discipline stays. Discipline wakes you up when the bed is warm. Discipline opens the book when the phone is calling. Discipline makes the sales call when rejection is still fresh in your mind. It's what separates those who talk from those who deliver. But here's the beautiful part. Discipline is not about suffering. It's about clarity. When you know what you want, and you know what actions will get you there, discipline becomes a tool, not a chore. You're no longer dragging yourself forward. You're being pulled by your own vision. That's what a few simple disciplines can do. They align your actions with your goal. They remove the noise and let you focus on what really matters. And what are these disciplines? They're different for everyone, depending on your path. But the principle is the same. For a writer, it might be writing 1 page a day. For an athlete, it might be showing up to train, no matter the weather. For a leader, it might be practicing empathy and consistency in every interaction. These aren't glamorous. They don't make headlines, but they build character. They build results. They build success. When you look at people who have achieved something meaningful, you'll often find that they didn't do something revolutionary. They just stuck with the fundamentals longer than others were willing to. They mastered the basics. They didn't get bored with consistency. They found pride in, and that consistency, built on discipline, becomes unstoppable over time. There's an old saying, in the short term, you won't notice the difference between someone who's disciplined and someone who's not. But in the long term, the gap becomes enormous. That's the compound effect. Miss a workout today, it won't ruin your health. Spend recklessly this week, it won't bankrupt you. But do it every day, and the damage becomes clear. On the flip side, read a few pages a day. Make one smart decision at a time. Practice patience and focus, and over time, success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Discipline may start as an effort, but it ends as a lifestyle. And when those simple disciplines become part of who you are, success stops being a goal. It becomes a natural outcome. You don't chase results anymore. You live in a way that creates them. That's the secret. That's the truth. A few simple disciplines, practiced every pain of discipline or pain of regret. Those are the only two choices. Every day and every moment, you're choosing one or the other. The pain of discipline is real. It asks for effort, sacrifice, and it demands that you say no when you'd rather say yes, that you stay late when you want to go home, that you push through when quitting would be easier. But it's a pain with purpose. It builds strength, it builds character, and eventually it builds results. On the other side is the pain of regret. This one doesn't show up right away. It waits. It hides behind distraction and delay. It shows up later, when the opportunity has passed, when the damage is done, when time has run out. And when it comes, it cuts deeper than any workout, study session, or early morning alarm ever could. The pain of regret is looking back at the chances you didn't take, the dreams you didn't pursue, the potential you didn't fulfill. And the truth is, that pain sticks with you far longer than the temporary discomfort of discipline. Discipline is temporary pain for permanent gain. Regret is permanent pain from temporary comfort. That's the trade. When you skip the workout, when you put off the project, when you ignore the habit, you might feel good for a moment. But what you're really doing is borrowing comfort from the future. And eventually the bill comes due. You realize the time you lost, the progress you didn't make, the growth you avoided. That's when the regret sets in. What makes the pain of discipline more bearable is that it's predictable. You know it's coming. You can prepare for it. It's in your control. You choose to get up early. You choose to stay focused. You choose to delay gratification. And because you choose it, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that you're capable. With every act of discipline, you strengthen your will. You gain momentum, and that momentum starts to carry you forward, making each act a little easier than the last. But regret, that hits when you're unprepared. It hits when you can't do anything about it. And by the time you feel it, it's too late to fix what could have been. That's why discipline, though hard in the moment, is a gift in disguise. It gives you power over your future. It gives you a say in the life you create. It keeps you from waking up one day wondering, what if? People often think that discipline limits their freedom. The truth is, it creates freedom. When you're disciplined with your health, you're free to enjoy energy, movement, and longevity. When you're disciplined with your money, you're free from debt and financial stress. When you're disciplined with your time, you're free to pursue your goals without chaos or regret. Discipline doesn't restrict your life, it protects it. Now, no one said it would be easy. Choosing discipline means facing resistance, internal and external. There will be days when your mind tries to talk you out of it, when the couch seems more appealing than the gym, when the excuse feels more convincing than the task. But that's exactly when discipline matters most. When it's hard, when it's inconvenient, because that's when growth happens. That's when you're forging the future you say you want. Every decision you make becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. And every time you choose discipline, you cast a vote for a life with fewer regrets. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Show up, stay consistent, keep your word, especially to yourself. Because at the end of the day, when the results come in, you won't wish you had taken more shortcuts. You'll wish you had stuck with it. You'll wish you had paid the smaller price of discipline instead of the heavier cost of regret. So ask yourself, which pain are you choosing today? Because you are choosing every skipped habit, every delayed decision, every ignored opportunity. They all add up, and so do the disciplined choices, the 5 minutes of focus, the one healthy meal, the uncomfortable but necessary conversation. Over time, those choices create a life. And the question is, will it be a life built by discipline or one haunted by regret? Self-discipline begins with awareness and responsibility. Before you can change your life, before you can build habits, chase goals, or stay consistent, you have to get honest with yourself. You have to be willing to look in the mirror and see things for what they really are, not how you wish they were, not how you pretend they are, but how they truly are. That level of awareness is the foundation of all growth. Without it, you're building on sand. You can't improve what you don't acknowledge. If you're not where you want to be, there's a reason. And that reason isn't the economy, your boss, your upbringing, or the weather. Those things might influence your situation, but they don't control your future. What controls your future is your ability to take full responsibility for your actions, your choices, and your results. Not part of the responsibility, not shared responsibility, all of it. Because when you take responsibility, you take your power back. Most people avoid responsibility because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to admit that your results are a reflection of your effort and priorities. It's easier to blame, to complain, to point fingers. But blame never changes anything. Complaining never builds momentum. Responsibility, on the other hand, opens the door to progress. When you own your role in the outcomes of your life, you also gain the power to shape them. That's where discipline begins, with the decision to stop making excuses and start making adjustments. Awareness means paying attention to your patterns. What do you do when you're stressed? How do you spend your time when no one's watching? What habits are helping you, and which ones are holding you back? Self-discipline isn't just about willpower. It's about knowing yourself well enough to manage your impulses, structure your environment, and set yourself up to win. It's about catching yourself when you're about to slip into an old routine and choosing a different path. That doesn't mean you'll never mess up. It means that when you do, you don't hide from it. You confront it, you learn from it, and you keep moving forward. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being accountable. You stop lying to yourself. You stop letting yourself off the hook. And when you say you're going to do something, you follow through. Not because someone is watching, but because your word matters to you. Taking responsibility also means letting go of the victim mindset. Life is not always fair. Things will happen that are outside your control. People will let you down. Circumstances will shift. But how you respond, that's always your choice. Discipline is choosing your response wisely, even when your emotions are pulling you in another direction. It's staying true to your values when distractions, doubts, and discomfort show up, and they will show up. That's a guarantee. But your response, that's your responsibility. The people who achieve meaningful success, personal, professional, physical, spiritual, aren't the ones with perfect circumstance. They're the ones who stopped waiting for life to be easy and started taking control of what they could. They developed discipline, not because life handed it to them, but because they chose to face themselves. They chose to do the hard work of reflection, accountability, and they decided that their future mattered more than their excuses. Once you start living with that kind of awareness and responsibility, you begin to build trust with yourself. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps commitments, someone who shows, and that identity shift is powerful. Because when you believe you are disciplined, your actions begin to align with that belief. You stop relying on motivation, and you start relying on your own character. Self-discipline, at its core, is about leadership, not leading others, leading yourself. It's about setting a standard for how you live, how you work, and how you show up in the world. And that leadership starts the moment you decide to stop blaming and start building. When you choose awareness over ignorance, responsibility over excuses, and action over delay, you're not just becoming more disciplined, you're becoming more free. Free from limitations, free from regret, free to create the life you were meant to live. Discipline strengthens your confidence and self-respect. Every time you follow through on a commitment, especially when it's difficult, you're sending a message to yourself. You can be trusted. You do what you say you'll do. And that message, repeated through consistent action, builds an internal foundation of confidence that no one else can give you and no one else can take away. It's earned, not given, and it starts with the small things. Most people think confidence comes from talent, luck, or external validation. But real lasting confidence isn't built on applause. It's built on alignment. When your actions match your values, when what you do lines up with what you believe, that's when your self-respect begins to rise. You no longer feel like an imposter trying to prove something. You become someone who knows who they are because you've lived it. You've paid the price. You've done the work. Discipline isn't flashy. It's not the loudest voice in the room. It's quiet, steady, consistent. And because of that, it often goes unnoticed by others. But you notice, you feel it. You wake up and remember that you made a hard choice yesterday and stuck with it. You feel that inner strength growing, not from what you've said but from what you've done. That kind of confidence can't be shaken, because it's rooted in experience, not opinion. The opposite is also true. When you break promises to yourself, when you consistently choose comfort over commitment, it chips away at your confidence. You start to question yourself. You hesitate. You doubt your ability to follow through, because you've taught yourself that your words don't mean much. And over time, that leads to frustration, insecurity, and even resentment, not toward others, but toward yourself. That's why the path to confidence runs straight through discipline. You build it, with one decision at a time. It doesn't have to be a big decision. In fact, it rarely is. It's choosing to finish what you start. It's choosing to stay consistent, even when progress is slow. It's choosing to act with integrity, even when no one's watching. These are the bricks that form the foundation of self-respect. And when that foundation is solid, you can take on challenges, face uncertainty, and pursue growth without being paralyzed by fear or doubt. Think of discipline as the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Every time you cross that bridge, you're proving to yourself that you're capable. You're not waiting for circumstances to change. you're becoming the kind of person who can handle them when they do. And that belief in yourself, that earned confidence, changes how you approach everything. You speak differently when you trust yourself. You lead differently when you respect yourself. You love differently when you no longer need someone else to validate your worth. That's the gift of discipline. It gives you back your power. It silences the noise of comparison and insecurity and allows you to move through life with quiet assurance, not arrogance, assurance, because you've built something real on the inside. Of course, it takes time, and it's easy to get discouraged in the beginning when you're doing the work, but not yet feeling the payoff. That's where most people give up. They expect the confidence to come first, before the discipline. But it doesn't work that way. Confidence is the result, not the requirement. You show up first. You do the work first. You build the habits first. And eventually, the confidence follows. The key is to stay focused on progress, not perfection. You won't get it right every time. You'll have off days. You'll fall short. But that doesn't erase your effort. It's part of the process. What matters is that you keep showing up, that you keep making the choice to live in alignment. And every time you do, your confidence grows a little stronger, your self-respect grows a little deeper, and you become someone who not only believes in their potential, but lives it. Self-discipline is a long-term game. It's not something you master in a day or even in a week. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a way of operating. The people who achieve lasting success understand they don't rely on short bursts of motivation. They build systems. They create routines. They structure their lives in a way that supports who they want to become, not just what they want in the moment. And they stay committed for the long haul. In the beginning, it's easy to feel excited. You start something new, set a goal, make a plan, and the energy is high. But that initial spark doesn't last. Life gets in the way. Distractions come. Obstacles appear. That's when most people slow down or stop altogether. They confuse the fading of motivation with a lack of ability. But discipline has nothing to do with feeling like it. It's about choosing to stay the course, even when the feeling is gone, especially when the feeling is gone. What separates those who succeed from those who stall isn't talent or luck. It's endurance. It's the willingness to keep showing up, day after day, when it's no longer exciting. It's staying true to your commitment, after the emotion of the moment has passed. That's when the real work begins. That's where the growth happens. And that's why self-discipline must be seen as a lifelong practice, not a temporary fix. There's power in the compound effect. Small disciplines, repeated consistently over time, lead to massive results. But because the change is gradual, many people don't notice it working, so they quit. They think their effort isn't making a difference. They look for shortcuts. They chase new ideas. But those who understand the long game know that patience is part of the process. They trust the slow, steady progress. They understand that the seeds they plant today may not bear fruit tomorrow, but they will bear fruit eventually. It's not just about doing more. It's about doing what matters, and doing it consistently. That might mean less time spent on things that feel urgent, but aren't important. It might mean more time invested in habits that don't offer instant rewards, but yield long-term value. Reading, training, saving, planning, connecting. These don't give you a dopamine rush, but they build a foundation that lasts. And when that foundation is in place, everything else becomes easier. The long-term game also means making peace with the idea that progress is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're moving forward. Other days you'll feel stuck, or even like you're going backward. That's normal. Success is messy, growth is uncomfortable, and consistency is often boring. But boredom isn't a problem. It's a sign that your habits are becoming automatic, part of your identity. And once something becomes part of who you are, you don't have to fight for it every day. It becomes natural. That's the goal. Think about the alternative. When you don't play the long game, you stay stuck in cycles. Start, stop, hustle, crash, motivation, burnout. It's exhausting, and it never gets you where you want to go. But when you commit to the long haul, you free yourself from the need to see results right away. You shift from chasing outcomes to building systems. You stop reacting and start leading yourself. This kind of discipline brings stability to your life. It allows you to focus, to create, to grow steadily, without being thrown off course by every distraction or setback. You become reliable, not just to others, but to yourself. You begin to trust your process, your habits, your path, and over time, the results take care of themselves. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it takes time. But the alternative, living without discipline, always chasing, always starting over, is far more draining. Discipline may require sacrifice, but it also offers freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from regret, freedom to become the person you were meant to be. So play the long game, stay steady, stay consistent, keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, because the person who stays the course will always outlast the one who sprints and burns out. And in the end, it's not about how fast you go, it's about how far you're willing to go, and how long you're willing to keep going. That's the true power of self-discipline.